Good morning. I'm Kafui Drasa, a full professor, endowed professor at Duke University, and an investigator with the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. I'm here because I'm on the scientific advisory board of One Mind, and I'm a 2013 Rising Star awardee. I'm here this morning with Dr. Ishmail Abdus-Saboor. He is an associate professor at Columbia University and also a Freeman-Hrabowski Scholar with the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. And we're so proud to be here with you, one of the 2024 awardees of the One Mind Rising Star Award. Good morning. It's great to be here with you.
Good morning. It's great to be here with you as well.
Tell us a little bit about the work you are doing in the area of pain.
You know, pain is this mysterious sensation. I think we all can relate to it. Certainly a lot of people suffer from chronic pain. And the thing that fascinated me then and still fascinates me now is that pain is multidimensional. So there is a sensory component of pain. You can localize where the pain sensation is in the body and the intensity, but that has nothing to do with feelings or emotions, as it were. So somehow the nervous system is encoding both of these things at the same time. It's keeping track of how much pain there is, but how you should feel and respond to that pain. And oftentimes people have negative emotional sort of connections to painful stimuli. So that's a question that really fascinated me. You know, one of the things I've had to do in my career actually is because we work in rodents, we work in mice, you know, these questions that I'm trying to get at, the animals can't talk to us. They can't tell us how it makes them feel or how it's negatively affecting their mood. So by and large, we've had to use behavior as a tool, as a proxy to get at their internal states. And that was a lot challenging than I thought it would be. I thought, you know, we spend a year or so developing
the
these.
would just say, ouch, you know what?
Exactly. But in the end, we've had to do a lot of advanced videography, computation, and machine learning. And alongside this journey, a lot of new tools have come out by many other investigators in the field. And we've done our best to develop our own tools and also integrate some of the work that's been going on in the broader neuroscience community to get a way to easily or more objectively and robustly measure pain sensation versus emotion in these nonverbal animals.
Well, you mentioned a word, this word machine learning,
Sure.
right? And how you've taken advantage of computation and machine learning to better understand experiences like pain. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, so again, I'm a preclinical basic scientist working in rodents. And when rodents experience painful stimuli, they have strong responses, just like you and I would. If you were to accidentally burn your hand on a hot stove, you would quickly withdraw it. You'd probably shake. You may grimace or wince with your eyes or face. And if you were in chronic pain, this will alter how you move, how you walk, your relationship to many things. And it turns out the same is true for a mouse. But then how do you actually measure this? When we started, we were doing these things by hand, but this was clumsy, took a lot of time. If you have two different researchers, they may focus on different things. And if you're trying to study a behavior in a mouse, for example, that people haven't studied before, what do you even record? What are you even looking for, right? So these machine learning tools have allowed us to be unbiased, removing the subjectivity from the researcher, so we don't have to go into the experiment saying, I think this is a pain response, or I think this matters to the animal. No, we use machine learning to say, tell me what's different in this scenario versus that scenario. The computer is completely unbiased, doesn't care about our predictions or our hypotheses, what differs across these states. And no matter what comes out of that, we focus upon that, okay? So that's one way we've used it. Another way is just to, robustly, say we want to focus on an animal's facial features or how fast it's moving its paw through thousands of frames of videography, tracking those body parts across an animal across thousands of frames of videography by hand takes years, right? But you can train a deep neural network to do this in a few days.
So it allows you to do things much faster than you'd otherwise be able to do.
So now, scientists in the lab, we can spend even more time thinking deeply about ideas and less time analyzing the data. So it frees our minds to be more exploratory and creative.
And as you sort of built your career and developed, beyond pain, you started adding in other types of touch and sensation. Can you tell us about that?
That's very true. At my core, I'm a basic scientist, curiosity-driven researcher. And what I just talked about with developing tools to objectively measure pain, I think is important, but really at my heart is solving biological problems, all right? And one biological problem really struck me, which is a sister to pain, and that's the sensation of touch or the social, emotional, affective touch, you know? There's a commonality in pain in that the sensations begin in the periphery with activation of peripheral sensory neurons in the skin, but then the pathways differ in terms of how you get to the brain. And I'll just say, like, our work on social touch, actually, we were deeply inspired by David Anderson at Caltech, and I think it's appropriate to give credit where credit is due. And just to mention that, you know, scientists, we stand on the shoulders of those who've come before us, and we inspire each other in different ways. And this work from David Anderson, I remember reading when I was still a postdoc, and they had a molecular handle on sensory neurons in the mouse that appeared to fire, activate towards stroking touch across the animal's skin. And I thought this was quite incredible. And immediately my mind began to percolate with ideas because that work kind of stopped in the periphery. But I thought, here's an opportunity for us to, with molecular and neural circuit precision, look at how neurons in the skin may connect with spinal cord and also brain circuits, and how this controls ethologically relevant behaviors. Okay. And that was kind of our entry point into to the world of social touch, where we're spending a lot of time now these days.
I want to better understand how you're sort of connecting original work in touch and pain to what we need to do to help and cure people suffering from mental illness.
When I opened my lab, 6 years ago, I didn't have an express goal to solve mental health or approaches that could affect mental health. It really was the discoveries that we made, and really having these aha moments, talking to colleagues, people in the field, people, psychiatrists and clinicians and translational neuroscientists who were able to look at some of my discoveries and say, wait a minute, I think there's something important here. There's something interesting here. You need to think a little bit harder about where you can take this. And, I think part of my creativity is having an openness, right? And not being stymied or suffocated or siloed into a box, and being okay to move outside that box and move into areas where maybe I'm a little bit uncomfortable. The field needs innovation, right? And people who are looking at things differently. And with some of the discoveries we made, where we found this basically a neuronal highway from the skin to the brain, only 3 cells away, 3 synapses away. It's like, wow, what if you could imagine a world where you could treat diseases of the brain outside of the brain?
What does this highway do, and what sort of diseases could it treat?
I think it doesn't take a long time to convince an audience that social buffering, social support is healing. I mean, touch is a part of our daily lives. Whenever you experience something good in life, right, you rush to your loved ones or friends, and typically you hug, right? We embrace each other. Or when you're down or sad or depressed.
I say the best medicine is a hug from mom, right?
Exactly, a hug from mom, a hug from mom. I mean it, but why but people don't stop and think, like, what are we getting from this hug?
Yeah.
How does it work, right? And could we bottle up some of that into a therapy, right? And, our basic science work in the mouse found that, interestingly, there appear to be neurons, nerve cells in the skin that are tuned towards detecting social touch, and they connect with neurocircuits in the spinal cord and onto neurons in the brainstem and the brain's reward center, okay, that evoke feelings, sensations of reward.
So you found the biology of a hug.
The biology of a hug, as it were. Yes. We haven't solved the problem, but we begin to put some of the molecular pieces together. All right. So then that raises the question of, could you tap into this pathway for relief? Could we bottle up some of these positive benefits of a hug for therapy? And we start to do this in my lab.
Interesting.
There are experiments where you can approve protocols where you can induce, have mice go through experiences, chronic traumatic experience, chronic stress that evoke anxiety, depression-like behaviors. And we began to stimulate this pathway, not in the brain, but in the skin. Okay, this pathway that has a highway from skin to the brain, and it appeared to reduce some of the animals' symptoms, depression-like symptoms after a traumatic event. Very analogous to what may happen in human settings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then imagine a world where, you know, if we had a molecule that could activate social touch neurons. We worked in a mouse. We need to find the equivalent populations in humans. This is something that we're actively trying to do. Right? And if we have a compound that could activate those neurons in the skin, which we know will get to the brain 3 or 4 synapses away. So we're still talking about milliseconds level resolution. It's very fast transmission. To simulate some of the positive benefits of social touch to reduce depression-like symptoms.
Yeah. So what will this Rising Star Award, you know, you've basically won everything we could imagine in the world of science and neuroscience.
I got a few rejections.
As we all have. But what will this award allow you to do? And
yeah, so this award is different than the others, right? Because as I mentioned, I'm a basic scientist. Make no qualms or reservations about that. And I think there's value in pursuing knowledge for knowledge's sake, curiosity-driven research. But what this One Mind Rising Star Award will do is allow me to think a little bit more about just creating new knowledge, but creating knowledge that has impact in people's lives and perhaps within our lifetime, right? So this will force me a little bit out of my basic science comfort zone and connect me with people who are in psychiatry who can provide some answers to things where I'm not the expert in, right? I'm okay moving in rooms where I'm not the expert and learning from people and seeing how what we've done can interface here. That's where innovation occurs, right? So, you know, thinking about how to take these basic science discoveries into a therapy, right? I mean, imagine a world where we find molecules that can activate these social touch neurons in the skin, and you can harness those molecules in a cream, right? And people can apply this cream all over their bodies. I don't quite know how to go from the basic science I do in academia to a product, but this is something that people do a lot within the One Mind community and within the network. So I'm excited about, you know, being able to explore this a little bit more.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's been such a pleasure and an honor spending time with you this morning.
The time has flown by. This has been great.
And congratulations again on this award. It's an honor to have you join us on the team.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.